ago. And I know that you already heard the story, but I was in the United States visiting universities to look for partners. And then Sylvia was there as well, and she said, well, perhaps you should combine it with the mentoring summit. So I went to the mentoring summit, didn't know anything about mentoring, but I was blown away about the powerful instrument of mentoring and the way it was executed there. And I saw a really strong tool for building an international community here at NHL Stenden, and to empower students from our region to take the step to work more internationally. So that's the connection to the International Affairs Department. So that's about me, and this is Lena.
Yeah. Hello again. Hello everyone. My name is Lena Karmelova. I come from Bulgaria, from Plovdiv, which is the second biggest city, not the capital one, because all the time people ask me. What can I say about my connections with mentoring, except that it turned in a lifelong adventure for me, despite it started very accidentally 20 years ago when I was part of the Open Society Foundation in Bulgaria. So that's how the Big Brother, Big Sister program, which has been mentioned a couple of times in the morning, came to Bulgaria as a piloting program for Soros Foundation or Open Society Foundation. And at that moment I was a student in the university. As I said, it was very long time ago. So actually I was doing some part-time translator work for the Open Society, and I started to translate some basic documents about the Big Brother, Big Sister program. I didn't find it very interesting, and being in Bulgaria, the context of volunteering is totally different than in Western countries. So actually we were not very sure should it be possible to start a program of such kind 25 years ago in Bulgaria. But you know, there were some more young and enthusiastic people around me, and with the financial support of Open Society, we said, okay, let's try and do one piloting small program, Big Brother, Big Sister, in our city. So at the end of the first year, around 2000, we had 9 matches, which was a big achievement for us and a sign that we can continue, that there is a need of mentoring, that there are a lot of kids in need. So, however, later on in 2006, I found the Big Brother Big Sister of Bulgaria Association. It's an affiliate member of Big Brother Big Sisters International. So I'm involved in this for more than 20 years. At the moment, I could say that my focus is quite a lot fundraising for the program in Bulgaria, because it does not have any sustainable funding, and that's why we are trying to establish a lot of networks, to travel a lot and meet international partners, and that's how I met at some stage Sylvia, and she connected us with NHL Stenden.
And it worked out very well.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Well, that's about us, and we're a little bit curious about who is in the room. So my question would be, who is based outside of the Netherlands? Okay, and outside of Europe? So that's a very international crowd, right? Yeah. And who of you is working in the field of mentoring already, or is involved in the field of mentoring? And who would happen to work in an educational institute? And higher education? Yeah, okay.
I don't know why.
It's like a stupid quiz. You're allowed to laugh. Yeah.
Who is everything? That's the
Yeah.
next question.
Yeah. And yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And who is working in a mentoring organization? So not educational institute, but solely mentoring organization. Yeah. Okay. Then we know we have a lot of experience in the room, so we can skip some slides or go through them a little bit faster. So as you all know, we are working with young people on their way to becoming adults in the final stage of their adolescence, preparing for the working field. and they are connected to different kinds of mentoring. That could be either at school or by lecturers, in formal structures, but also in informal structures within their communities, within their families and friends, in the sporting facilities. But they are not only users of mentoring, but they can be providers of mentoring as well, in different ways. And but I know, being the experienced group, you already know this. We are focusing now on student mentoring. So we're zooming in into student mentoring. The way we see it, and this really connects to the project, which Lena will explain more about later on. But we see that students can step into the role of being a mentor themselves. They have a lot of experience, and they are not always aware of that. So there is a necessity for them to become aware of the potential they have themselves, but also to tap into their motivation to become civically engaged. It's not natural for all students to give a contribution to society by stepping into the role of mentoring. So sometimes we have to trigger that sensitivity. And then they can be mentors for different target groups. Of course, they can mentor first-year university students who still have to learn how to navigate higher education. They can mentor newcomers to the country to make them more acquainted with our culture. They could even mentor young people, like I think in the situation in Bulgaria, that's most of the time the case. They can also, and that's very specific for this region, being not Amsterdam, but being in the northern part of the Netherlands, students who are first in their generation to pursue higher education. So there are a lot of different target groups they can work with. And the mentoring program can be found in different structures as well. Here at NHL Stenden, we have some informal and more formal kinds of student guidance, which looks a little bit like mentoring, but we are involved in the mentor program Friesland as well as one of the partners, and that's the mentoring structure as we know it. But there are different forms, like BBBS in Bulgaria. You have the organizations who coordinate mentoring and facilitate, like AVEF in France, and we have our colleague online who will share something about that. So mentoring can be applied for different target groups and in different forms, many different forms. And looking at trends, what we see now is that higher education is opening up to the tool of mentoring. What I hear from colleagues this day and yesterday as well, that in a lot of countries it still needs a lot of explaining. What is mentoring? How is it different from tutoring? We do not all have the French government who installs a big program with a lot of funding. So in many countries it still needs a lot of explaining, but we see that there is an increasing interest among governments, and they see the added value of and the power of mentoring. So it really is a good momentum to put mentoring on the stage.
So what is the difference in your view between mentoring and tutoring?
Yeah, that we could have a whole other workshop about that, but I think in the Dutch context, I think it's very context driven. Tutoring here at NHL Stenden would be a teacher who guides a group in the educational system. So that is the connotation of the word tutoring here at NHL Stenden. I know that in France, the difference between a mentor and a tutor is that a tutor is a paid tutor, and the mentor is voluntary and has other forms of recognition. So it depends really much on the context you're talking about. Another trend is, and I'm not sure if you attended the keynote by Ilana Tsikurel, but that Europe is ready for mentoring as a tool, that it really is on the agenda now, that it is in the policy papers. So that opens up the way for more funding and more recognition and more support. So the trends are very positive, I think, for mentoring. And then I'm sure I'm now preaching to the choir, so you all know this. But the impact is enormous, and the impact is not only for the mentees, but for all stakeholders involved in mentoring. And I put some of the added values here, but you could think of many others as well. But what we see here, that mentees perform better in school, but also in their personal lives and in future careers as well. And our French colleague, she sent a research which was conducted during COVID times, and they had a survey with 2,000 participants, and 70% of the participants indicated that mentoring was one of the reasons why they could cope with the COVID crisis. So it really shows that it has an impact. But also for the higher education students who are in the role of the mentor, there's a very clear added value that they can work on their soft skills, they can work like leadership, communication skills, and so forth. And they have an increased civic engagement, like I mentioned earlier. But it also has a very high impact on them on a personal level. It feels good to help someone out and to see that you really can make a difference, so it reinforces them and it empowers them as well. So it really goes both ways. And also organizations and society benefit from that, because you get stronger employees, you get higher success rates. Well, there are numerous effects. I don't have the research here to back it up, but I know that we all agree on the benefits. So that's a little bit of background. But it's good to hear a story in real life as well, and I'm very glad that Aukje was. Oh, it's in the next room. Aukje's here. She's my co-worker in the project, and she's very busy in organizing this event as well. So she has two different roles now.
Sorry for
yeah.
that.
So we're shifting the program a little bit. But Aukje, could you perhaps share your story?
Yeah, sure, because I'm looking at the benefits for a mentee, and I can see my personal story is kind of, I had the same benefits, I would say. Is it okay if I stay seated? Because we're a small group. Yeah. So my mentoring story started, I think, when I was 21. I'm 26 now. So 5 years ago, I was a terrible student, I can tell you that much. Because I'm kind of a busy person, like I have a lot of energy, and sometimes it's hard for me to channel it in the right directions, and teachers never really understood that I had so many questions, that I was disturbing the class, and they put me outside of the class in higher education. That's how bad it was. Until I came here at NHL to do a minor, because I was studying somewhere else. And then all of a sudden I had teachers telling me, wow, your energy is so great, you have so much enthusiasm, and you can help us with this and this. And I got kind of, included instead of, kind of rejected for the personal traits I had. And to be fair, I wasn't able to manage them right at that point. So I was kind of a loose cannon, so to say. And that's actually where I met, Ulge. He's also doing a lot of projects here, and we met with each other doing a project to help VET students go to higher education. And he was just kind of, maybe the opposite of me, really calm and relaxed, and he saw the benefits of my enthusiasm, and he was able to connect with me in a way that I didn't really have. I'm also, I think, the first generation in my family who is going to higher education. So looking back, I think I could have had some more guidance here and there. And he was actually he filled that gap for me in a way. and we really connected. Like it was on a really deeper level. So when the project ended, I asked him, "Well, will you be my mentor?" He was like, "Oh, we are already mentor-mentee, don't you know? It's natural mentoring. Look it up." And it was such a perfect match. And well, he was here during the lunch as well. Maybe one of you spoke to him. Could be a coincidentally, and we still keep in touch. And the thing what helped for me the most was just to have that safety guard, I would say, or somebody to fall back on and ask those certain questions that I couldn't ask anyone in my current environment then. I mean, now I work in the higher education, so I have a lot of mentors now, but he really was there for me to fill that gap. And after that, we're still in contact. He's still my mentor, and he will be my mentor for the end of time if he allows me to be that his mentee. And I'm also a mentor for others. So it's a cycle and it continues. And especially like the informal way that it started, I think we should encourage students more also to ask the question, because if I was more afraid to ask the question because it was really scary to ask the question, I wouldn't have my mentor, and I don't know if I would have been as successful, I guess, in finishing my education and finding a job and, well, still working in the mentoring field. So I think I relate to the benefits that you just showed. Yeah, so that's kind of my story, I would say.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I know that you are a mentor to many of the students in the mentoring
Yeah,
program
a
as
lot.
well. Yeah, so you can really see that it continues.
Yeah, it's kind of a cycle, and also, I mean, it's not only mentor-mentee, of course, because I think I'm teaching Hugo also some stuff, I guess, and my mentees also teach me a lot. So to have that broader perspective and to meet people you don't normally meet and engage with them, I think that's the actual, the best outcome for mentoring and for people in general. Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing your story.
Yes, no problem at all, because we keep at it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have two choices. We could go to Eunice or to your part. What do you prefer?
Okay, I can speak a little bit now more about the project, and then probably because you need things connected with it. So that was a great introduction from Auke, because she shared her experience of kind of a not that formal mentoring and how it started and how it continued, and naturally she became now a mentor herself. And this project is a little bit more about formal students mentoring, or how to establish student mentoring programs in different institutions and mainly universities. As I mentioned at the moment, it started like a cooperative initiative between Big Brothers Big Sisters of Bulgaria and NHL Standen. But we have some other partners in this project too, and I think the consortium is very interesting because there are different kind of organizations focusing on mentoring in different ways. So obviously NHL Standen is a big university. We are here, we can see how big and well-organized structure it is, and Afke shared what is their interest in mentoring. Our organization is pretty small, I would say. It's a very small national organization, local, working on local basis, more or less, but we are practitioners. Actually, we deliver mentoring program to children suffering different kind of challenges in their life. We work very much with children from social institutions, similar with what Bernadine was sharing her research on. I mean, our target groups are similar. And also we have a small school-based program in Bulgaria. So we have another big partner, and I'm proud that such big partners invited us in this partnership. Aki also mentioned AVEV, which is the biggest mentoring organization in France, and they deliver a big variety of mentoring programs for different target groups, and based nationally in different locations in France, with their headquarters in Paris. We also have the University of Nicosia, which is a private university in Cyprus. We are going there next week for a partners meeting. Also another academic approach in the project, I would say. They also deliver some mentoring programs similar to Big Brother Big Sister model, but with university students mainly. And we have one partner from Spain, which is national mentoring platform, and they also coordinate a lot of smaller organizations in Spain. So as you can see, this is a very interesting collaboration between different organizations with different focus, different how to say, organizational status, but still obviously the mentoring is the crossing point to everyone. And when we were preparing the project, we came to conclusion that it's important, it's valuable to promote students mentoring more, and especially to make it more widespread all over Europe, not only in these 5 or 6 countries from the project consortium. That's how we developed this application, I think 3 years ago, and we applied to Erasmus Plus program, which is one of the biggest funding programs from the European Union, supporting the so-called lifelong learning. So it means that the European Union gives money for improving studying, education for people at different ages, and that's where we fit our project, and fortunately it was successful. Actually, the main coordinator of the project is Friesland, it's NHL Stenden, so they applied here to their national agency, and that's how we got funding for this wonderful initiative, I would say. Now we are just in the middle of the project, so we can share with you just some intermediate results and achievements so far. For probably, bye.
Sorry, I have to.
Yes.
I'll see you later and say hi to Eunice from me.
Okay. Probably next year in the summit we will be able to really report the final results and where we come will be the next year, but let's speak about the current situation. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the structure of this partnership project with Erasmus. I'm sure that people from the States don't care, and they of course are not familiar, but it's not that important. But most of the projects follow one and the same structure. There are some things which are obligatory for such a project. I mean, it's basically about sharing experience and building capacity among partners, and the topics could be absolutely different. And I mean, they could be from agriculture, youth work, education, culinary, basically everything. Erasmus, if you use the right language to convince the program representatives that it's worth to implement your project, that it will brought to the education of the target groups, and of course if it's written in a good way, you could be successful. So actually it's a project with some very specific components, which, as I said, are similar to different projects. So the main idea of this project is to create a common methodology about student mentoring, which could be applied easily in different institutions or different universities which don't have such a program. Reading what we have developed could step by step start a mentoring program. So on the left side, thank you Afke for the presentation, because I didn't have any input in the presentation. Everything was done by Afke, but here on the left side, these are the main activities involved in the project. So these focus groups were the first phase of the program, where in the different countries we organized different focus group to figure out and to map what are the needs, what are the problems, what are the expectations of different interested groups in terms of starting student program or implementing student program or being a mentor in a student program, because this focus group were directed to different participants, let's say. All of them were organized parallel in each country is involved in the program. Later on based on the results on the focus group, we started, I mean we in Bulgaria, because we are responsible for that part of the project, to develop training methodologies for mentors who have already have some experience as mentors, and also to young people or volunteers who do not have any experience but would like to become volunteers. So one of the results, hopefully in 1 year, will be that at the end we will have something like a methodology or toolbox or guidelines or whatever you call it for students who would like to become mentors, and the focus is not so much on the technical part of them being a mentors or what they need to do, but how the skills that they will acquire through mentoring can help them develop and can help them in their future life and better performance both as students and personalities. So this is the first project result that we are targeting. Still we are at this piloting testing phase because different models are developing one by one, and in each country once one training method is developed, it's distributed among the partners, and in each country my colleagues are organizing testing of these models. Also there is another methodology which is going to be developed at the time of the implementation of the project, and it's a kind of methodology for institutions which would like to start a mentoring program, students mentoring program. It's more technical. I mean, it's not focusing so much on the skills, but it's focusing much more on the steps and need analysis and everything which one organization needs to take in mind before starting students mentoring program. So also we in this phase between pilot testing and this workshop, so the other partner from Spain is responsible for developing a platform which is a kind of a website but broader one, with a lot of materials connected with mentoring. All these training materials will be uploaded there once they are ready, and it's also the other goal for this platform is to create online society where mentors, mentees, representatives of institutions and other stakeholders can communicate, learn from each other. At the moment there are a lot of videos uploaded in this platform with mentors like Auke speaking about their experience. So it's a kind of a interactive, inspirational platform with a lot of resources, and hopefully at the end it's going to be really a library on students mentoring. Of course, also we have these impact days, but they are going to be at the end of the project when we are almost ready. In each of the country we organize these impact days to actually we're organizing them not only at the end of the project, sorry, but we started to organize them with different target groups to promote the project, to promote the aims to high school students, to university students, and to policy makers and representatives of the institutions. We had these very interesting training weeks. Already we had 2 of them, and Auke was coordinating the Dutch group last week in Cyprus. So actually students who have already been mentors and have some experience from all these 6 countries got already twice together to learn from each other, and also to be trained with some additional topics about mentoring, self-improvement, etc., etc. The first training week unfortunately had to take place virtually. It was here in Leeuwarden, but the second one just finished in Cyprus last week, and as far as I heard, because I haven't met the Bulgarian group, but it was really terrific experience for the young students. This is also part of the project. We have 2 more, if I'm not wrong. I know the next one is in Bulgaria, but I think there are 2 more training weeks till the end of the project. And yeah, these regional events are going to be some promotional events at the end of the project, where we will use them just for dissemination and promotion of everything which has been done. Did I miss something? No?
No, I think the 3 products that you mentioned, it all contributes to a complete method that can be used in educational institutes throughout Europe, throughout the world, as a starting point to make mentoring a structural part in higher education.
Yeah, we're working very hard. Actually, for sure, we will not invent hot water, and there are a lot of practices everywhere. I mean, our ambition is just to collect the best practices, to put them in one methodology online, which everyone can get used of. Of course, you would not find something wow, extraordinary, especially for people in the States, because you have really very long history in mentoring. It's not going to be probably something unfamiliar, but first of all, here is I think it's very valuable the international context, because each organization is functioning in a totally different environment. I could say it absolutely 100% for Bulgaria and Cyprus, where it's very different than, for example, France, Netherlands, and Spain, let's say. And also, we are trying, because we are coming from different environment, to do it as universal as possible, so that more countries can benefit in case they are interested.
And we had our colleague Eunice Magado. She recorded a statement to explain a little bit about the French context, and then we